Good day, learners. Our subject for today is Mathematics 5 for Quarter 4, Week 3. Topic is Volume of a Cube and Rectangular Prism using Cubic Centimeter and Cubic Meter. For the most essential learning competencies, find the volume of a given cube and rectangular prism using cubic centimeter and cubic meter. Estimates and uses appropriate units of measure for volume. In your previous lesson, you have learned to visualize the volume of a cube and a rectangular prism as well as the use of formula during the application. In this lesson, you were able to visualize the process of finding the volume and derive the formula in solving mathematical problems and real-life situations. As a learner, you are expected to find the volume of a cube and rectangular prism using cubic centimeter and cubic meter. Estimates and uses appropriate units of measure for volume. Let us have a review of the past lesson. Look at the figure. So we have 5 centimeter as the length, 2 centimeters the width, and 4 centimeter as the height. So the question is, how many cubic centimeters are there in the first layer? So this is the first layer. So we have 5 centimeter times 2 centimeter. When we multiply 5 times 2, you will get 10 square centimeter. Okay, so for the second question, how many layers of cubic centimeters will it take to fill the box? So this is the layers. So we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So that means it has 4 layers to fill in the box. The third question, what is the total cubic centimeters are needed to fill the box? So we have 5 centimeter times 2 centimeter times 4 centimeter. So for the question like this, 3 dimensions na ang ating kukuhanin. So we have the height, the length, the width, and the height. So we will multiply 5 times 2 times 4. So that will give us 40 cubic centimeter. So that is the total cubic centimeters that are needed to fill the box. Therefore, what is your understanding about the volume of the box? So we have the volume of the box equals the length times width times height. So for the volume of a rectangular prism and a cube, volume is the number of cubic units needed to fill this spatial figure. It is the amount that will occupy the space of the figure. Volume is three-dimensional or 3D process of measuring the spatial figure. It is composed of the area of the base, which is the length times width, times the height, or we can use the formula V is equals to length times width times height. That is why every answer in cubic units, we have cubic inches, cubic centimeters, cubic meters, etc. Let us take first the cube. A cube is an example of a spatial figure that has 3 dimensions. Since all the faces of the cube are perfect squares, the length, the width, and the height are equal. The sides of the cube or the square are also called edges of the cube, and S is the symbol used. Thus, the formula to find the volume of a cube is S times S times S, or S cube. And to find the volume of a cube, let us take this example. So the size of this cube is 3 centimeters. So the volume or the formula that we're going to use is V is equals to S times S times S. So when we substitute, V is equals to 3 centimeter times 3 centimeter times 3 centimeters. So next is we have to multiply 3 times 3 times 3. That will give us V is equals to 27 cubic centimeters. So 27 cubic centimeter is read as 27 cubic centimeters. Next, we have the rectangular prism. So we know that for a rectangular prism, the base is always a rectangle. Therefore, the area of the base is always the product of length and width. To get the volume, we just multiply the area by the height. So volume of a rectangular prism is equals to the area of a rectangle times height. And to find the volume of a rectangular prism, let us take this example. So we have the figure and we are going to use the formula V is equals to length times width times height. And we are going to substitute the length, which is 3 centimeter, width 5 centimeters, and the height, which is the 4 centimeters. So when we multiply 3 times 5 times 4, we will have V is equals to 60 cubic centimeters, or the volume of the figure is equals to 60 cubic centimeters. Let us read and study the problem below. So we have a storage box is 60 centimeter by 40 centimeters by 30 centimeters. So what is the volume of the box? And the volume of a rectangular prism is equal to the product of its length, width, and height. So we will be using the formula V is equals to length times width times height. So let us now substitute. So V is equals to 60 centimeter, which is the length, 40 centimeter, which is the width, 30 centimeters, which is the height. So when we multiply 60 times 40 times 30, you will have volume is equals to 72,000 cubic centimeters. Let us study the figure below and analyze the given unit of measures to find its volume. So we have the first figure, the second figure, and the third figure. So let us take first the first figure. So we are going to use the formula V is equals to length times width times height. So let us now substitute. So V is equals to the length, which is 3 centimeter, times width, which is 5 centimeters, and height, which is 2 centimeters. So when we multiply 3 times 5 times 2, that will give us 30 cubic centimeters. Now, let us take number 2. So for number 2, we will be using the formula V is equals to base times height. So when we substitute, so the base is 10 meters times 6 meters. So that is the base, and the height is 4 meters. So let us multiply first 10 times 6. So that will give us 60 meters times 4 meters, which is the height, So that will give us volume is equals to 240 cubic meters. And for the figure number 3, we will be using, this is a cube, so that means we will be using the formula V is equals to S times S times S. And when we substitute, since the cube has a the side of the cube is 3 centimeter, so we will be using 3 centimeter for each side. So we have 3 centimeters times 3 centimeters times 3 centimeters. And that will give us V is equals to 27 cubic centimeters. The solid figure in number 1 and number 2 are both rectangular prism. And the third figure is also a prism, but since the length, the width, and the height are all the same, it has a special name, and it is called a cube. If the length, the width, and the height are equal, we can substitute S for the length, the width, and the height, and form a special formula for finding the volume. So we have V is equals to S times S times S, or it can be V is equals to S cubed. So the formula for the volume of a cube. Let us now discuss estimating and using appropriate units of measure for volume. Let us take this as an example. Elijah has a rectangular box with sand inside it. He wants to know the capacity of the box. What shall he do? What unit of measure will he use? The unit of measurement you will use depends on the size of the object you will measure. For tiny objects, it is better to use millimeter or cubic millimeter, and for small ones, we use cubic centimeters or cubic decimeter. And for big objects, we use cubic meters. Now, let us write the best unit of measure to find the volume of the following. So we can use cubic millimeter, cubic centimeter, cubic decimeter, and cubic meter. So we have number 1, water in a rectangular pool. Number 2, an ice before it melts. Number 3, a dice. Number 4, a blackboard eraser. And number 5, oil in a rectangular box. So for number 1, what unit of measure that we are going to use to find the volume of water in a rectangular pool? So we will be using cubic meter. Okay, dahil ang rectangular pool ay malaki na. So for bigger objects, we will be using cubic meter. And then an ice before it melts. So we will be using cubic centimeters. So for smaller objects, so we will use cubic centimeter. And then a dice. Okay, so since a dice is a small or very small one, so we will be using cubic millimeter. Next, we have a blackboard eraser. We will be using a cubic centimeter. And number 5, oil in a rectangular box, we will be using cubic decimeters. For learning task 1, find the volume of each prism. So we have 4 columns. We have the length, the width, and the height, and the volume. So for number 1, 4 meters. The width is 2.5 meters. The height is 3.5 meters. Number 2, 8 centimeter, 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters. Number 3, 16.5 centimeters, 12 centimeters, 8 centimeters. Then for number 4, we have 7 meters, 2 meters, and 4 meters. And for number 5, 16 centimeter, 7 centimeter, and then 12 centimeters. Okay, so let us now find the volume of each prism. So what we are going to do is, again, so we will be using the formula V is equals to length times width times height. So we have to multiply 4 meters by 2.5 meters and 3.5 meters. That will give us a volume of 35 cubic meters. And for number 2, 8 centimeters. And then times 4 centimeters times 5 centimeters. And that will give us a volume of 160 cubic centimeters. And for number 3, 16.5 centimeters times 12 centimeters times 8 centimeters. And the volume will be 1,584 cubic centimeters. And for number 4, we have 7 times 2 meters times 4 meters. And that will give us a volume of 56 cubic meters. And for number 5, 16 centimeters times 7 centimeters times 12 centimeters, and that will give us a volume of 1,344 cubic centimeters. And for learning task number 2, find the volume of the following prisms. So we have the first figure, the second figure, the third figure, the fourth figure, and the fifth figure. Okay, so let us now answer learning task number 2. It's time to check your answer. Let us take first the first figure. And the first figure is a cube. So we will be using the formula V is equals to S times S times S. And when we substitute, the sides of the cube is 10 meters. So we will substitute 10 for S for the 3S. So we have 10 times 10 times 10, and that will give us a volume of 1,000 cubic meters. Okay, let's move on to number 2 figure. So it is a rectangular prism. So we will be using the formula V is equals to length times width times height. And when we substitute, so the length is 20, the width is 8, and the height is 14 meters. So let us multiply 20 times 8 and times 14, and that will give us a volume of 2,240 cubic meters. Let's move on to number 3. So again, this is a rectangular prism. So we will be using length times width times height. So when we substitute, the length is 12 centimeters times the width, which is 5 centimeters, and the height, which is 8 centimeters. So when we multiply 12 times 5 times 8, that will give us a volume of 480 cubic centimeters. For number 4. Okay, so this is a cube because it has only one measurement of the side, which is 13 centimeter. So we will be using the formula V is equals to S times S times S. And then when we substitute, so we will have 13 centimeter times 13 centimeters times 13 centimeters That will give us a volume of 2,197 cubic centimeters. Okay, so for number 5, so since this is again a rectangular prism, so we will be using V is equals to length times width times height. Then let us substitute. Length is 8 meters, and then the width is 4 meters, and the height is 3 meters. So when we multiply 8 times 4 times 3, that will give us a volume of 96 cubic meters. Okay, so for learning task number 3, so write the best unit of measure to find the volume of the following. Choose your answer from the box below. So these are the choices. We have cubic millimeter, cubic centimeter, cubic decimeter, and cubic meter. And then we have number 1, a wooden rectangular chopping board, a container van, a room air conditioner, a brick of butter. Number 5, a thick book. Number 6, a hollow block filled with cement. Number 7, a soap box. Number 8, a matchbox. Number 9, wall cabinet. And number 10, a lunch box. Okay, so let us now have the answer for learning task number 3. So for number 1, a wooden rectangular chopping board. So this is a smaller object, so we will be using cubic centimeter. A container van, so this is a bigger object. So we will be using cubic meter. And number 3, a room air conditioner. Okay, so we will be using a cubic decimeter. A brick of butter, cubic centimeter. A thick book, cubic centimeter. A hollow block, so we have cubic centimeter. A soap box, cubic centimeter. A matchbox, so this is a tiny, not a tiny but a smaller object. So we will be using cubic millimeter. A wall cabinet, so cubic meter, and a lunchbox cubic centimeter. For learning task number 4, apply the appropriate formula to find each volume. So we have the object or figure number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. Okay, so let us now answer learning task number 4. So it's time to check your answer. So for the first figure, the width is 2 centimeters, the length is 5 centimeters, the height is 7 centimeters, and what is the volume? So this is a rectangular prism, so we will be using V is equals to length times width times height, and then let us substitute. The length is 5 centimeters times 2 centimeters as the width and 7 centimeters as the height. So let us now multiply 5 times 2 times 7. That will give us a volume of 70 cubic centimeters. For number 2 figure. So this is a cube because it has only one measurement of the side, which is 10 centimeters. So what is the volume? So when the given is cube, so the formula that we are going to use is V is equals to S times S times S, and then let us substitute 10 centimeters times 10 centimeters times 10 centimeters. That will give us a volume of 1,000 cubic centimeters. For number 3 figure. So again, this is a cube because it has only one measurement, and that is the side, which is 7 centimeter. So again, we will be using the formula V is equals to S times S. And when we substitute the S, we have 7 centimeters times 7 centimeters. So that will give us a volume of 343 cubic centimeters. And for number 4, the width is 1 meter. The length is 5 meters. And the height is 6 meters. So what is the volume? So this is a rectangular prism. So we will be using the formula length times width times height. And then when we substitute, the length is 5 meters, the width is 1 meter, and the height is 6 meters. So let us multiply 5 times 1 times 6. That will give us a volume of 30 cubic meters. For number 5, for learning task number 4. So the width is 4 meters, the length is 6 meters, and the height is 2 meters. So what is the volume? So this is a rectangular prism, so we will be using length times width times height. So when we substitute, the length is 6 meters, the width is 4 meters, and the height is 2 meters. So when we multiply 6 times 4 times 2, that will give us a volume of 48 cubic meters. For the simulation, find 3 objects in your house that are rectangular prisms or cubes. Measure their length, width, and height using the most appropriate unit, then compute for their volume. Write your solutions in your notebook together with the drawing of the objects. So for example, so this is a box. So this box measures 20 centimeters as the length, the width is 15 centimeters, and the height is 10 centimeters. So this is a rectangular prism, so we will be using V is equals to length times width times height. And then let us now substitute. So the length is 20 centimeters, the width is 15 centimeters, and the height is 10 meters. So when we multiply 20 times 15 times 10, that will give us a volume of 3,000 cubic centimeters. Okay, so you have to find 3 objects in your house, whether it is rectangular prism or cube. For the assessment, find the volume of the following prism. Write your answer in your notebook. So we have 1 to 5 figures. Okay, so let us now answer the assessment. So it's time to check your answer. So let us take first the first figure. So it has 3 centimeter, 9 centimeter, and then 5 centimeters. So this is an example of a rectangular prism. So we will be using the formula V is equals to length times width times height. And then let us substitute. The length is 9 centimeter, the width is 3 centimeter, and the height is 5 centimeters. Okay, and then let us multiply 9 times 3 times 5. So that will give us a volume of 135 cubic centimeters. Let's move on to number 2. So number 2 figure has a measurement of 2 centimeter, 15 centimeters, and 2 centimeters. Again, this is a rectangular prism. So we will be using the formula V is equals to length times width times height. And let us now substitute. The length is 15 centimeters, the width is 2 centimeters, and the height is 2 centimeters. So let us now multiply 15 times 2 times 2. That will give us a volume of 60 cubic centimeters. 3. Okay, so this is a cube because it has only one measurement and that is 10.5 centimeters. So each side of the cube is 10.5 centimeters. So we will be using the formula S times S times S. Let us now substitute 10.5 centimeters times 10.5 centimeters times 10.5 centimeters. That will give us a volume of 1,157.625 cubic centimeters. And for number 4 figures, again, this is a cube because it has only one measurement, which is 15 centimeters. So again, for the cube, we will be using the formula S times S times S. So let us now substitute for the sides of each cube. We have 15 centimeters times 15 centimeters and then times 15 centimeters. That will give us a volume of 3,375 cubic centimeters. Let's move on to number 5 figure. Okay, so we have the measurements 11 centimeter, 8 centimeters, and 31 centimeters. So that is a rectangular prism. So we will be using the formula V is equals to length times width times height. And let us now substitute. So the length is 31 centimeter times 8 centimeter, which is the width, and the height is 11 centimeters. So 31 times 8 times 11, that will give us a volume of 2,728 cubic centimeters. And that concludes our topic about volume of a cube and a rectangular prism using cubic centimeter and cubic meters. I hope that you learned a lot from our topic for this morning. That's all for today. Thank you and God bless everyone.